Hi, I'm Matt Stash.
And I'm Rita and
Welcome to Beer Reviews,
where we review beer in a way that you, the casual beer drinker, can understand.
Alrighty, so we're doing something a little different tonight in that we're going to drink some beers that I'm fairly certain they belong to a genre that I don't like.
Yeah, so that is sour or goses. Mm-hmm. Those are beers that typically Matt avoids. Mm-hmm. We have found some luck in a couple of different expressions of the genre.
Yeah, I found the dragon fruit gose. Was it a gose or is it a sour?
Dragon fruit and passion fruit, and I think it might have been a sour.
Okay, it was either sour or gose at Deep Brewing in Tallahassee.
Shout out.
That's right. That was one of the sours or goses that I did like. It was sort of a passion fruit color. Yeah, What are you gonna do?
Yeah, it was kind of pinky purple. It was very nice. Mm-hmm. I seem to recall that you did not mind the Boulevard Hibiscus Gose from a couple years ago, but then again, I find myself experiencing a Mandela effect that nobody else seems to remember this beer.
I don't remember that beer.
I know. We got it at Common Market.
I don't remember that beer.
Shout out.
So, I typically don't like sours or goses, so we're going to try all sours and goses.
Yeah, or
something similar to
beers
that.
to that effect.
Beers to that effect.
So we are going to start out with a brewery that we know has been a Beer Reviews favorite. We've done several episodes with several of their beers. They've always been super delicious, and I imagine this is going to be a bit of a challenge for Matt. I've already tasted it. He wanted to save his reviews for you, the
It'll be
viewers.
Spontaneous.
Yeah.
So tell us about this beer. This is Brooklyn Brewing?
This is Brooklyn Brewing out of Brooklyn, New York.
I love their lager. They have a great lager.
Their lager, they've got like a summer ale.
Mm-hmm, that's good too.
They
had a pumpkin beer that was okay too, or an Oktoberfest that was, whatever.
So this is the Brooklyn Bel Air Sour. Mm-hmm. It's called Party Tartly.
Okay, show them the label there. All right, Party Tartly.
Yeah, and it's
Bel Air Sour.
5.8%.
Okay.
And I've already checked into this one on Untapped.
Now, I'm going to not let my first sip be my impression.
Yeah, and what I was saying earlier is that
I'm going to let it reset a little bit and kind of...
Yeah, it comes on really, really strong. It's like when you get into the ocean the first time, you get hit with a face full of water. Like, that's what the initial taste is.
Now...
And then it mellows out.
Now, I've had my own feelings about sour beers craft beers in general, because a lot of the breweries that I've been to that are startup craft breweries have beers that are in the IPA and pale ale categories that taste really sour. And I think it's because they're not doing it right, or something's not...
They haven't honed in their recipe. They haven't gotten their mash.
Right. The fresh taste that everyone attributes is actually really sour and possibly not good. So I'm trying to depart from that and say this is an intentionally sour beer and not a beer that's accidentally sour.
Yeah, I heard about a brewer that was selling a beer that had soured as a sour stout, and that's dishonest. If you're gonna make a sour, make a sour. If you accidentally mess up a batch of beer, don't sell that as something else.
Yeah. Now I'll say I like lemonade and I like Tom Collins's. The thing I guess for me about sour beers is they're not sour because of lemon. They're sour because of something that goes on with the yeast. We have a cat that's wandering around the room that apparently wants some beer. It's not bad. If someone said, "Here's a sour, you might like it, you might not, but why don't you clear this one? Then we'll get you something else." I could totally do that.
Imagine drinking one of these by the pool in the summer.
I guess.
I think that it comes on real strong, and it's not, of the sours I've had before, it's still not a particularly puckery. I'm not like...
No.
But it comes on real strong at first and very sour, and then it kind of mellows out to almost like a lager ale sort of category before the end of it.
It does. It comes on strong and mellows out, and I'll say that this is one of the more mild sours I've tasted. If you were to tell me you mix lemonade with a beer, I probably wouldn't be able to tell that you were lying.
Lemonade concentrate.
Yeah, lemonade concentrate, like cheap lemonade. No, it's a good sour beer. I think they've made a really mass marketable sour here that can appeal to people who aren't into sours, who would at least finish the six-pack eventually, be like, wow, that was sour, that's weird, and they go to the office and tell their friends about this weird beer they had that they didn't like but still finish the six-pack. This is not one of those beers that I would pour out into a bush discreetly. This is one that I would drink one of and then find something else. But I would drink this. I would swing it around and drink this beer.
Yay! All right.
The thing is it does have a citrusy sourness to it, so it's not the kind of thing that hits you in the face and say there's something a little unnatural about this beer, which was my first impression the first time I had a sour was there's something unnatural about this beer, or something a little too natural about this beer. This is different than that. This is mild. They've made a very marketable, palatable beer for the masses as far as sours go. So what if I was in a Spanish-speaking country and I wanted another sour beer? What would I say?
Un otra vez.
That's thematic. What's our next beer?
Otra vez!
All right, where's this come from? This comes from the brewery that we have been consistently writing a love letter to for the last chunk of time. Meanwhile, while I write a love letter to Genesee Brewing, Rita and I have simultaneously been writing a love letter to
Sierra Nevada.
Sierra Nevada.
Sierra Nevada and Saranac rank among our consistent favorites. Actually, Brooklyn, I think I'd put up there too. Mm-hmm. Just breweries that are killing the game and putting out good stuff all the time. So here's to you, Sierra Nevada.
I've been thinking that I think Brooklyn has been around longer because I remember seeing the Brooklyn Lager back before craft beer was a thing. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking, oh, it's just a small brewery. It was back when they called it microbrewing, but yeah. I don't even think Brooklyn identified as a microbrewer. It was just a brewery that was kind of small. So I don't think of Brooklyn as being a craft brewery, but I guess they're independent. I'll have to do more research on who Brooklyn is. But anyway, so Sierra Nevada.
Anyway, so Sierra Nevada is Chico, California, of course, and Mills River, North Carolina. So they're in that, that mountainous North Carolina, all the beers. This is the mountain range of North Carolina, by the way. It's the Appalachian Mountains. If you say Appalachian, you're wrong. Get out of the South. Anyway, this is a lime agave. It's an ale brewed with lime agave. It's a gose style ale. So it's not a true gose. It's a gose style ale. So we were at Lucky's the other day. Shout out! And we were talking to the beer and wine guy, and he's super great. And he was giving us
so nice. Always talks to us every time we're there.
He was giving us some recommendations, some of which we've brought home. Kind of showed us around the beer cave, showing us what was new and what was popular. And he was saying, you definitely got to try this one. And I was like, well, Matt's not a big fan of goses. So we went for Otra Vez, and he said, try it with a floater of tequila and some lime juice.
Okay. I've already had a couple sips. I'm ready to get my impression of this. And I do like this better than the Brooklyn. It's not as sour. It does have that, what I refer to as a bit of a wild yeast taste. So it is slightly sour, but that can also be attributed to it's a lime agave gose. So maybe there's some lime in it. Maybe I can distract myself and think about lime instead of thinking about yeast
think about ale.
Or think about lime instead of thinking about yeast doing terrible things in a beer. Which, I mean, frankly, yeast do terrible things in your beer anyways, and that's what makes it beer. But, I've got a little bit of there is the agave kind of kick to it, where it has a little slight sweetness.
Sweetness from a cactus.
It feels a little bit more, a little vegetal taste. It feels a little bit more, I would say, watered down as far as that sourness goes. Not to say it's a watery beer. It's a nice, full, heavy beer, but the sourness seems to be mild, but not mild from sweetness. Follow? So, yeah, it's got kind of a yeasty taste, like a gose does, a wild yeast taste, a little bit of a citric acidity going on, but this is okay.
This was my Alton Brown yeasty sock puppet, by the way.
Burps and farts.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So this, I was drinking one the other day while engaging in a behavior that one should not drink while doing. Whatever.
Give me some.
I was walking outside my apartment.
Well, that's fine. Drinking while walking.
Yeah. So I was drinking, and when I got to my destination, and I said to my friend, I was like, "Oh, you should try this," and she goes, yeah, this is kind of like that. Uinta, lime pilsner.
Okay.
So it does. It has a really I could pound this like I could pound a Sprite, and it's not even as bubbly as a Sprite, so I could drink it fast.
Yeah, I feel like goses almost, to me, taste like sourdough bread with needles shoved through it, is typically what I think of when I think of goses, and that's why I just don't.
That doesn't turn me off.
No. Fairly. Inject that sourdough bread in me. But this actually is real mild. If you didn't tell me it was a gose and just said there was some lime in it, I might believe you. It tastes like what Desperados should probably taste like if they were really not phoning it in.
Yeah.
And Desperados is one of those two beers that I will discreetly pour out into a bush. Because we drank some sour beers, and there were some sales at the Publix tonight, not a sponsor, I said we should do 2 cheap beers like we used to do, where we had a cheap beer at the end that are sours. So what we have for our cheap beers that were BOGO that are sours are
Bud Light Lime and Bud Light Orange.
That's right. They're god-awful, but, you know, in the grand scheme of things, I might actually like them slightly better than a true sour. I don't know, that last one, that Gose, the Autre Vez, was, for me, it felt like a real beer. It had the weight of a real beer. It wasn't too challenging, and it had some refreshing elements to it. So as far as the sitting by the pool and drinking one, I could definitely see it with the Autre Vez. Not a giant fan of the Brooklyn, buddy.
So, I'll never forget going out after practice one time.
Oh, no. God, that's worse than I remember.
Yeah. And a teammate being like, do you have Bud Light Lime? And they were like, no. And she goes, do you have Bud Light and a lime? And they were like, yeah. It's a bar.
Oh, God.
It's sweet.
It's not even sweet. It's just like the lime flavors are. I don't really mean to like you know, it's okay. It's okay to slam, but like there were some guys that did a beer review thing on
not related
on some video, and they're all like slamming on Coors Light and Bud Light and all that. I'm like, ooh, you're giant edgelords there. You know, don't cut yourself. But honestly, Bud Light Lime. Well, you know, let me just dial that back. It's not terrible, but it's just like it's not beer.
It honestly tastes like somebody poured a flat Sprite into it. Because there's like lime flavor and there's a little bit of sweetness more than you get from a Bud Light. I would prefer just Bud Light and a lime, frankly.
Yeah.
Or Bud Light and a lime LaCroix.
Yeah, no, I don't know about that, but...
I mean, because I'm just picking up like a little bit more sweetness than I want from a Bud Light caliber beverage.
Yeah, it is a little sweeter than I'd like it to be. The citrus flavor is not... It tastes a little artificial, and inevitably it is. I
bet it would be better
frankly, I think
with
it's
a lime.
I think it's a little bit more watery than a normal Bud Light is, for some reason, but... I think I would just like a Bud Light with a lime if I was going to do that. And, again, with the guys that really want to slam on domestic beer, whatever, don't be a dick, but... you know, don't cut yourself on all that edge, because everyone's dissing domestic beer. This is just not something... Okay, so I'll go ahead and say this about the Bud Light Orange.
Wow!
It tastes like a fucking sun-kissed soda.
This tastes like you put orange drink in a beer. It doesn't... I wouldn't even say it's orange Kool-Aid.
Mm-hmm.
I am a woman who one time took a very cheap bottle of sparkling wine and orange Kool-Aid and drank that while watching Bring It On movies.
Who hurt you?
You don't want to know.
Oh, dude.
It's a long story.
No, actually, this doesn't taste like a sun-kiss. This tastes like a crush. Orange crush.
No, this tastes like somebody put orange drink or poured beer into an orange drink 2-liter to take it somewhere that wasn't... Like, somebody was like, oh, I'm gonna smuggle this beer in my 2-liter. And they were like, aha, I'm so clever. That's what this tastes like. Let me conjure an image for you.
Mm-hmm.
You're not feeling well. You take orange Dimetapp.
Ooh.
You follow it with a Bud Light.
That sounds... Oh, shit, you're right. Well, that was Bud Light with orange. Thank you for joining us today on Beer Reviews, where we reviewed sour beers and goses and beers that I generally don't like, and I kind of made it through the episode okay. I'm Matt Stash.
I'm Rita Manida.
Remember, we take the pretentiousness out of drinking beer.
And put it into something else.
Everything else.